ici Micheline Bourque du Club de lecture à faire. Je suis au Congrès RH 2018 de l'Ordre des conseillers en ressources humaines agréées du Québec. Un événement exceptionnel qui réunit des conférenciers de partout dans le monde. Nous avons maintenant avec nous Madame Susan Basterfield qui a écrit un livre qu'on va vous présenter à l'instant. Alors, voilà, je vous présente Madame Susan Basterfield. Susan Basterfield, thank you so much for spending time with us.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
You'll be giving a conference this afternoon. What are you going to be talking about?
So I'm going to be talking about deliberately developmental organizations.
Okay.
So, well, not conceptually, also practically, it's the idea that the workplace provides us everything that we need to do our ongoing development as humans.
Yes.
And that there should be no compromise between great work outcomes and organizations taking their place in the ongoing development of the people that work with them.
Very interesting subject. I'm sure it'll be pleasing this audience for sure. But who are you, Susan? Where do you come from? And now you're an author. Tell us a bit about how your life has been professionally.
Thanks. I was born in Chicago in the U.S. and grew up in Southern California. But I left the U.S. in 1995, initially for the U.K., and I've been in New Zealand since 2003.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So my career trajectory has been quite interesting. So started off in the very early days of the IT industry and developed my career in senior leadership positions in organizations like IBM and British Petroleum.
Wow.
And have seen sort of so many changes, especially in the IT and telco industries. About 5 years ago, I decided that the second season of my career was going to be, for myself, moving beyond what I saw as the very small incremental changes I could make within big hierarchical multinationals, and really choosing to work with people that saw the potential for really looking at and challenging the work paradigms that have been with us unquestioned for probably the last 150 years. You know, the assumptions that are built around scientific management that were actually designed for companies and times where 80 to 90% of the workforce was illiterate.
Wow.
You know, we've transformed and progressed on so many levels, but the way that we question the traditional pyramid of organizing for some reason hasn't changed.
Wow. I did a little bit of research on you because I didn't know of you, and I found that one of the descriptions I found so powerful says, Susan Basterfield's purpose is to end suffering in the workplace. That is such a strong statement. Is that also what you try to do?
I know that sounds quite, I do believe this, but I also understand that it sounds a little bit outrageous and potentially a little bit pretentious.
Not at all, not at all. What I see is courageous, is giving, is caring. Very positive connotation for me in reading it, on the contrary.
And I think it comes from my personal story, right? I feel like I was disappointed and had my heart broken so many times in these big organizations where I could see goodness and amazing growth emerging from the humans around me, only to be shut down for reasons of ego and I don't know what,
whatever else,
bullying, whatever else.
Yeah.
The workplace should not be like that.
Absolutely not. You're also a member of a group called Inspiral, and here's what I found about it: a collective of entrepreneurs, change makers, and activists who help people worldwide work on stuff that matters. That's also a good way of being progressive. What does that mean, though?
So for me, when I decided to leave corporate life and strike out on my own, I found that I was actually really lonely. So what I missed was those spontaneous conversations at the water cooler,
right?
Where I knew I could connect with somebody and have a conversation about work. So Inspiral is a collective of entrepreneurs, people like me, maybe even people like you, who intentionally come together to support each other's purpose. We're absolutely unopinionated about what each other's work that matters is. So for example, my work that matters is ending suffering in the workplace. some of my colleagues' work that matters is around education or climate change or tech for good. We're absolutely unopinionated about what that work that matters is, but what we're there to do is to amplify and support each other by providing that sort of social fabric and peer stewardship to help us, stand tall in
and
work
be together.
That is lonely.
And be together. Exactly.
And learn together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you've already written a book called Reinventing Startups, and now you've launched a recent book, so hot I don't even have a copy yet, called Reinventing Scale-Ups. Tell us a bit about your life as an author, maybe just a few words on your first book, and then start about Reinventing Scale-Ups.
So the idea for these books came about through being incredibly inspired by an author called Frederic Laloux, and I know that Frederic spoke at this conference last year.
Exactly.
And when I read Reinventing Organizations, it struck me as, wow, I'm not the only one, and I am not lonely in my pursuit of this work as the workplace being something human. But what the book didn't show was the practical steps that organizations could take to kind of set themselves up in this way. It was very much a curation of organizations that have been operating in this way. So together with two other amazing gentlemen, one from Toronto and one from San Francisco, we decided to collaborate and write like the toolkit. So the first book, Reinventing Startups, was really intended to help companies just starting to think about some of the things that they could put in place so that when they got to the point of thinking about, oh gosh, we've got 20 people now, what are we going to do? Put in some middle managers? No, maybe not have to do that. But the reason that we kind of shifted to the scale-ups is what we found is that most entrepreneurs and startups are really, in those first couple of years, just focused on getting their product to market and becoming sustainable.
Right.
And they are normally very tight groups of humans that have a lot of trust and love for each other. So we really identified that it was when organizations got to the point of sustainability and about that 15 to 20 mark where the tools and the practices that we'd written about were really becoming applicable. So that's why we kind of shifted to our audience, or the people that we think could benefit most would be those that are
How
scaling.
did you structure your book? So we're talking about scale-ups, companies of 20 employees and more who have been able to sustain the model for that time. How have you structured your book? Is it a how-to guide? Is it theoretical? How have you structured it?
It's more of a provocation.
Okay.
It's a more taking all of the elements of a normal business and thinking about how we can orient them. So, for example, recruitment. We traditionally look at recruitment as writing a job description, doing an ad either online or engaging a company to do it for us. Getting people that fit this exact job description, apply and come. The ideas in this book are what could it be like if the whole organization took part in recruitment? What could it be if we started recruiting for values instead of just job fit, for example? Another example is generally either finances or pay.
Right.
Pay is something that is sacrosanct, that is always behind locked doors. What could be different if everybody in the company knew what everybody else made? Just really more around provocations about thinking about how can we increase transparency? How can we really participate together in the building of this thing as well as working in the thing?
The title says it really, radical ideas for growing companies. That says it all. What role did you play? You're three, so you have Brent Lowe and Travis Marsh who co-authored it. How did you go about writing a book with 6 hands?
Well, this fascinating thing that you probably don't know is we did this together without ever having met.
Is that right? Oh, wow.
So we just committed to each other that this was some work that was important to us. And we had a regular scheduled series of calls every week. We'd spend an hour or two, and we kind of co-sensed what the chapters were going to be. and whatever had our attention the most was what we took the lead on.
Okay.
So it was mainly Brent and I that did the writing of the chapters, and then Travis came in behind us and created the practical examples or things that you can try on the back of it.
Cool.
So it was a very generative process, and so exciting. You're going to laugh. I was with them in Toronto just this weekend for the first time that the three of us were together.
Wow, amazing.
Talking about the next version of the book.
I love it, Evelyn. So you've taken a liking to writing at some level.
I think I've always enjoyed writing. I've gone through spurts of being quite a prolific blogger, but really the idea of creating something that is, I love some of the reviews that we've got on the book, just really just speak to my heart. Like, this is something that I keep on my desk that I can refer to anytime I want inspiration, maybe if I want to think differently about a problem. And the idea that my experience could help others be braver, that's just the best thing in the world.
Have you received feedback from your books?
Absolutely.
And because I sense that there are a lot of practical tips and tools that people can use and make small changes, but small changes that bring you on a certain path. Have you gotten good feedback?
Yeah, we've gotten great feedback.
Good
so we've got some great reviews on our Amazon page, but we also have a Facebook community where we are all learning and growing together, posting interesting things and sharing our learning.
Okay. You also mentioned, because in your book, I did skim through on the web, 3 books. You mentioned Reinventing Organizations from Frederick Laloux. Robert Kagan, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Keegan.
Keegan,
yeah.
And Everyone Culture Becoming a Deliberately Developmental Organization,
which is the topic
today.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one I was very surprised is Brené Brown. Why Brené Brown? I mean, I have a lot of admiration for her, but it's because she's the human side of the equation.
I think that bringing vulnerability and our real selves to what we do just unlocks so much potential. I think that for so long, especially in my corporate roles, I felt like I put on this mask of being the rational professional, and I feel like even the companies I worked with lost out on so much of me because I was afraid of bringing my creative self, or I was afraid of actually coming into a room and saying, look, I had a horrible night's sleep. I'm not going to be on my game today. Can we please take it slow? Just the ability to be real with each other, to be vulnerable. I think if we can start to practice that together, I really have a theory that it will speak to my core purpose around ending suffering, because if we can see each other beyond our professional faces and connect as humans, I think that so much can be unlocked.
Not knowing you before this morning, the question that came to me was, is this book sort of a full circle for you? Do you know what I mean? Because you mentioned your career, you worked in corporate, large corporations. There was some dissatisfaction. There's dissatisfaction in that world. You're now on your own. You're traveling the world. You're working with people all over the planet. And now you're talking in those terms. Maybe you would not have talked in those terms when you were the corporate manager.
No.
Is it sort of becoming full circle for you in terms of being completely you in all of the things that you do and all the things that you recommend to people to do?
I think that feels true. I think that for a long time, and especially after I left corporate, I thought, oh gosh, I've just wasted the best working years of my life doing something that caused me pain. But I learned so many lessons there, and I met so many amazing people, and I had so many great mentors and teachers that, I think that everything is coming together in a way that allows me to have a bit of efficacy to what I'm thinking and talking about. But I feel like it's maybe one circle but I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right.
Yeah.
Who would we recommend this book to?
So I think any leader at any stage in any organization, not just scale-ups. I think that as Frederick Laloux would say that the potential of an organization can only rise to the level of the development of the leader.
Right.
And I think that I see so many leaders out there that they know within themselves that something more is possible, but they don't know where to start. So I think that any leader who is kind of craving some inspiration or some practical steps, I think that's
and also good examples, because you have a whole series like your own company, and you also have Perco Lab.
That's right.
And we'll be meeting with Samantha Slade later on today. So look, we're wishing you continued success with your book and your career. We hope you'll be coming back in Canada and getting to know more about what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. And
thank you so
for
much.
The opportunity.
Great. Perhaps for the viewers, how best to connect with you?
So the best to connect with me either on LinkedIn, or I'm absolutely open to direct contact. I'm Susan at Inspiral, ENSPIRAL.com.